O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was a football demigod turned symbol of how fame can swallow justice whole. Born in San Francisco in the 1940s, he became the gridiron golden child, then a film face, then the defendant in a double homicide so televised it rewired American brains in 9 months flat. The trial stretched from late January of 1995 to early October of that same year. Glove theatrics, DNA duels, and a jury that needed less than 4 hours to acquit while the country forgot how to breathe. The cultural blast radius was permanent. Rating spikes, cable news mutants, true crime is sport. Side quest horror show. A later Vegas memorabilia heist earned him a decades-long sentence, like the universe trying to balance the books with a sledgehammer. Close the door softly. The echo is still loud. 30 years after the not guilty. And it does not care if anyone sleeps tonight. Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder was the 90s indie heartbeat who turned a Beverly Hills department store into a courtroom runway. Born in Minnesota in the early 1970s, she made weirdness chic. Then, in December of 2001, walked out of Saks with thousands in designer loot, and a nation decided to litigate its own reflection in every mirror. The haul hovered around $5,500. Charges a trial the next year, and enough tabloid oxygen to choke reason. The impact was surreal. A career lull, then reclamation, fashion campaigns sprouting from scandal like weeds in concrete. The twist she later shared, painkillers, burnout, and the quiet collapse people pretend isn't medical because it's messy. The narrator in the head is whispering that shoplifting was never the crime of the century. The real spectacle was how quickly fame becomes a public autopsy. Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was Hollywood's mercurial comet who crash-landed in courtrooms before piloting a red and gold suit back into the stratosphere. Born in New York in the 1960s, he stacked nominations and bad decisions like cursed Jenga, then got cuffed in 1996 for heroin, cocaine, and an unloaded revolver, and began a relay race between probation and cells. The legal carousel spun through 97, 98, and 1999 with a prison stint for violating drug testing. Release, then more arrests in 2000, and the kind of headlines that feel like Groundhog Day in hell. Cultural impact went nuclear later, a sobriety arc that became the modern template for comeback myth. The uncomfortable footnote: recovery is not a montage, and the criminal system likes to mistake illness for villainy until a box office weekend rewrites the diagnosis. Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was the heavyweight hurricane who could end a fight in one punch and a reputation in one verdict. Born in Brooklyn in the 1960s, crowned youngest heavyweight champion at 20, then tried in Indianapolis for raping Desiree Washington and convicted in early 1992, sentenced to 6 years and paroled after roughly 3. The conviction sat like an anvil on the sport, a schism of fandom and outrage that never healed, even as he returned to the ring and later to cartoonishly meta-celebrity. The uncomfortable ledger. Appeals failed. Court records are explicit about the evidence and injuries, and decades later, civil ripples still surface like ghosts that forgot they were supposed to stay quiet. The mind reels at the contrast. A man built to annihilate doubt in 3 minutes, undone by what a jury decided in 2 weeks, with history refusing to throw in the towel. Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg was the laconic West Coast oracle who rhymed about murder and then had to rhyme his way out of a murder trial. Born in Long Beach in the early 1970s, he and his bodyguard were charged after a 1993 park confrontation left a man dead, the courtroom playing back bullets, and panic like a cursed music video. In February of 1996, the jury acquitted on murder, a self-defense narrative, sticking while tabloids tried to tattoo guilt on his forehead forever. The cultural backlash turned into armor. The case bled into songs, into a persona larger than the courthouse, into that odd American ritual where acquittal never fully acquits. Years later, the record itself gets sealed, but memory does not, and the chorus keeps asking whether fame saved him or just gave him a louder microphone. Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart was the domestic monarch who folded napkins like origami and then folded under federal questioning. Born in New Jersey in the 1940s, she dumped nearly 4,000 shares of Imclone the day before bad FDA news crashed the stock then told investigators a fairy tale about a $60 stop order that unraveled like cheap ribbon. The trial ended in March of 2004 with convictions for conspiracy, obstruction, and lying. 5 months in prison, 5 months at home, a probation tale, and a brand that somehow learned to garnish prison with paprika and sell it back. The impact was grotesquely fascinating. Wall Street sins in a gingham apron turned ethics class into daytime TV. The twist is arithmetic. Dates, calls. And that altered phone log became the breadcrumbs that prosecutors used to lead a lifestyle icon straight into a concrete cottage. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan was the child star comet that kept colliding with courthouse ceilings and bouncing back like a cursed slinky. Born in New York in the early 1980s, she hit global fame before hitting a Beverly Hills curb in the summer of 2007, then stacked DUIs, cocaine charges, ankle monitors, and courtroom cameos like they were merch drops. The impact was omnipresent surveillance, a career turned into probation theater, where every missed class became a headline, and every judge sounded like a disappointed parent with a gavel. The curiosity is arithmetic. Minutes served measured in double digits, probation extended like a Netflix season, redemption arcs announced and revised. The voice breaks a little here. Addiction is a disease, but the system insists on treating it like a sequel, and the audience never stops buying tickets. Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg was the muscle-bound leading man with a teenage record sharp enough to cut the image he later sold. Born in Massachusetts in the early 1970s, he racked assaults as a youth. One of them, a 1988 attack on a Vietnamese-American man that left an eye injured and a permanent question mark over his rebranded future. The importance is discomfort. Fame can lacquer wood, so glossy people forget the grain, but court files do not forget anything. The twist is the pardon request years later, then the public pushback that turned contrition into a referendum on what forgiveness costs when the victim carries the bill. The narrator would like to sleep tonight. The mind keeps asking, why apologies get louder only when careers need them to be. Phil Spector. Phil Spector was the producer who built the wall of sound and then watched it crumble under the weight of a gun and a dead actress in his foyer. Born in the Bronx in the 1940s, he engineered pop into cathedrals, then in 2003 met Lana Clarkson at a nightclub, and within hours she was found shot in his mansion, a fairy tale castle with a trapdoor. The case marched through a hung jury and then a conviction, a life sentence that made every echo in those records sound like a warning no one heard in time. The curiosity is how many women had told stories of threats and weapons, little red flags waving in a blizzard of genius myth. The closing thought tastes like metal. History loves a tortured artist until someone else gets tortured. Tonya Harding. Tonya Harding was the blue-collar prodigy who landed the triple axel and a lifetime in America's two favorite sports, skating and cannibalizing women in tabloids. Born in Oregon in the 1970s, she skated like a thunderclap. Then her ex-husband's crew turned a baton into a national sermon by smashing Nancy Kerrigan's knee in 1994. Impact detonated. Bans, pleas, and a morality play on ice where class resentment wore sequins and everyone pretended they'd not love the spectacle. The curiosity lingers. What did she know and when? And how much of this was a woman punished for orbiting men who liked violence more than work? The narrator's teeth grind. Some stories are less about guilt and more about which sins the audience enjoys replaying in slow motion. Sid Vicious. Sid Vicious was punk's beautiful disaster, a sneer in human form who lived like a dare and died like a dare accepted. Born in London in the late 1950s, he joined the Sex Pistols, then woke in a New York hotel room in 1978 with Nancy Spungen stabbed, and the kind of silence that never stops screaming, arrest, bail, overdose. The judicial system never got to finish its sentence because heroin wrote the ending in February of 1979. The curiosity is corrosive. Was it murder? Was it the vortex of drugs and chaos? Was it the way punk confused performance with prophecy? The mind whispers a last ugly prayer. Some legends are just corners doing the eulogies the fans refuse to write.